You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my review for Transformers 1. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Transformers 1 is a 2024 animated action sci-fi film directed by Josh Cooley. Long before their famed rivalry we all know, Transformers 1 tells the origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron as brothers in arms, Orion Pax and D16, who changed the fate of Cybertron. The film stars the voice talents of Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, Steve Buscemi, John Hamm, and Lawrence Fishburne. Transformers, robots in disguise. So after seeing the first released footage at San Diego Comic-Con this past July, I got really excited for Transformers 1. Honestly, I really enjoyed last year's Rise of the Beasts. Plus, I love Bumblebee, so I was really hoping we could carry that type of one-off standalone feeling Transformers film into a new animated adventure with Transformers 1. Plus, I think a franchise like Transformers is ripe for animation treatment on the big screen, and this voice cast is amazing. Of course, I was seated, and ready for Chris Hemsworth's first ever voice role. Plus, we already know Brian Tyree Henry and Keegan-Michael Key can kill it on the microphone. I may have been excited for this film, but was there more than meets the eye? So the first opportunity I had to check out Transformers 1, I jumped on it. And I'm so glad I did because this was a complete and total blast. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, my biggest positive is this story was ripe for telling, and it was ripe for telling with animation. I really enjoyed the animation style of Transformers 1. While it is CG 3D animation, it has a very distinct look and style to it that feels innate to the Transformers franchise. It looks fluid, it looks beautiful. This world is completely detailed to the minute detail. Our characters look great. The way they transform looks awesome. The action is so well handled. Everything about the animation style really worked for me. And the voice cast really worked for me. Chris Hemsworth steps into the role of Optimus Prime as a younger version so well. His voice suits this character really well. I think he does a great job of feeling like Optimus Prime that we all know, just as the younger version with Orion Pax, but transforming his vocal performance to more closely emulate Peter Cullen as he evolves, as he matures, and becomes the Optimus Prime we all know. I think Scarlett Johansson is also very good in her role. Steve Buscemi kills it in his very limited screen time. Lawrence Fishburne is always great. But I think Keegan-Michael Key really shines with his performance as B, aka Baby Bumblebee. He was a wonderful casting decision, and he fits the role so perfectly. He was great here, and he honestly brings so much new life into a character everyone already knows and loves. But quite possibly, the standout performance of the entire film has to go to Brian Tyree Henry. He is amazing. He chews this role up, completely leaning into every impulse of B16, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, and he plays that character evolution for B16 so well. What a fantastic voice performance from Brian Tyree. And I'd say the second half of this film in particular is amazing. Complete blast. Just glued to the television, nonstop action in the second half of the film that works so well. There's this really impactful moment that resonates beautifully on the big screen, dealing with Optimus Prime specifically in the third act of this film. That's jaw-dropping. The music is absolutely amazing. The emotional climax of this moment is wonderful, and there's this big payoff for Prime. It is a showstopper in the third act of this film that I absolutely adored. I also loved that it dealt with a lot of deeper topics. One, on the surface level, we're dealing with friendships and how fragile friendships can be. But on a deeper level, we're dealing with the idea of morality, obviously, and classism. There's a huge classist structure and how that power structure comes to be. And I loved that we delved further into that through this lens of the Transformers. The film is fun, the film is funny, it has the action, it looks great with a wonderful voice cast. Exactly what you want out of any good Transformers film in the movie theater. And then you add this beautiful animation to top it all off. That's what I'm talking about. So then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to Transformers 1? Well, really, all of my problems come down to screenplay issues by and large. And one of my biggest issues with that screenplay is the evolution of D16, the Megatron storyline of this film. While I think it starts really well, the overall progression, particularly in the third act where we get to where we need to go, happens far too fast. It felt rushed and almost quite abrupt in the end. And that's such a huge shame because up until that point, I think D16 and Orion Pax have this great friendship. They really lay the groundwork there for the evolution of D16. All the bricks are laid. They just run to the finish line with a pretty abrupt change in the end. Through the first two acts, the character development is there, the motivations are there, the legwork is all in place. And then the screenplay hits the panic button and takes a huge leap from point B to point A. Not unwarranted, not completely out of left field, but far too accelerated. And the other issue I had with the film that ultimately comes down to the screenplay is that the pacing isn't quite right. And I think that largely comes down to the fact that we just have these two huge exposition dumps that take place. The first one happens pretty much immediately, and I think it kind of contributes to the first act of the film feeling a bit slow. We get this really cool racing sequence, but everything around that is gradual setup, and it happens at a very gradual pace until we get to where we want to be. And then there's a second big exposition dump that happens about halfway through the film that takes everything to a screeching halt before letting us pick back up and just jam-packed amazingness to the finish. So the pacing isn't perfect, and that ultimately starts at the base bones of the screenplay itself. But overall, I had a blast with Transformers 1. I can't wait to revisit this film. The third act alone is worth the price of admission. It's so good. It has such great payoff. The action is awesome. It looks gorgeous on the big screen. And if you do check it out in a movie theater, make sure you stay all the way to the end. There are two post-credit sequences. One is a mid-credit, and then one is at the very end of the film, and that is the one you definitely need to check out. If you like animation, if you like Transformers, I think you are going to love this film. I'm not quite sure it dethrones the likes of Bumblebee as my favorite Transformers film, but it certainly easily cracked the top three, and after further thought, it may take over that number one spot. Too early to tell right now, but Transformers 1 is one of the best. So that is my review for Transformers 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, Click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Transformers 1? And what is your favorite Transformers film? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.